Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Our special guest is Robert Green. He's the Chief Business Advisor at Melbourne Business Advisors, author of the Simple P&L system, and a volunteer business mentor at the Women's Business Center We Venture at Florida Institute of Technology. He helps small business owners grow from solopreneur to cash flowing asset with an exit plan. Thank you for joining me today, Robert.
Thank you for having me, Sheila. This is a pleasure to be here.
Well, I look forward to learning more about what you do. So I will let you give us an introduction so that you can go into the system and then also let us know what you're doing at Melbourne Business Advisors.
Okay. Well, certainly. Thank you. Well, to give you an idea about this system, if you will, the Simple P&L system, it started out as I was volunteering with We Venture and realizing that most of the small business owners that we helped were both hyper-focused on the day-to-day activities of running their business. They're really good at the fulfillment side of their business. That's what got them, that's where their passion comes from. That's where their skills and technique and career experience is in the fulfillment side or some technical aspect or something that they do, something that they are, right? But they tend to not be extremely well versed in the finances of a business. And so we created some tools to help align their education with how to measure your business, how to measure the success of your business, and identify the areas that we can control or influence to start driving our business in a more purposeful way towards something better, right? The Census Bureau says, that the average solopreneur earns $44,000 a year in reported revenue, but a company with 1 to 4 employees generates, $364,000 a year. And so by scaling the size of your company, we're able to leverage the people that we have to generate more revenue, to perform more services, to deliver more product, and we can start to see a path towards growth. But this becomes really overwhelming if you're the chief everything officer. You're doing absolutely everything in your business, and maybe you have 1 employee, maybe you have 2 to help, with production or sales or whatever. But we don't typically think of how can we grow our business so that we might have a little more freedom from the business, so that we can exit it at some point. Because if we're just driving a job that we created for ourselves for the next 30 years, that's a really long time to be in that business, first off. Chances are we're going to fall out of love with it at some point, probably sooner than that. And your business is an asset. It can be one of the best assets that we invest our time and money into. And we can get a lot out of it if we develop a product that other people are willing to buy. And it's easier to sell a gold mine that's producing than it is to sell an empty pit, right? So we try to come up with a way to evaluate where you're at currently, looking at the P&L statement in a very simplistic way, not getting carried away with all the details, but we do need to make sure that it's accurate. And then looking at the things that drive each of the inputs to that profit and loss statement so that we can have a better cash flow and a higher valuation. And we understand that the P&L statement is actually a reflection or a report card of our decisions that we've made in the past. So how can we make better decisions to have a better business? Exactly. And that's what this whole concept is about.
Okay, so P&L stands for profit and loss.
Absolutely.
And I agree with you. I was actually a SCORE mentor for 3 years, 2 of those years chapter chair. And what we see a lot of over and over is entrepreneurs that are experts, in what they do. And perhaps they don't have that business background, so they don't have a system in place, right? They may just send it over to an accountant, but they don't even review certain reports. And you need
Yes.
to, understand where your revenues are coming in, what's working, where your expenses are going to see how you can save, and then be able to analyze that profit and loss statement so they can make better decisions. So what is this tool? Is it a service? Is it a software?
So I offer this as a service. Of course, you can do it on your own. So I have the book, the Simple P&L System. I give it away for free on my website. I also am producing a workshop called the Small Business Elevation Workshop that I'm hosting next week to help with this planning cycle for small business owners. And you can go to my website and sign up for the workshop there. It's free as well. But the idea is to provide a set of tools that give you a scorecard so that you can measure your results with over time. Because when we look at our results over time, we get a bigger picture. And I really want to elevate the business owner's perspective from hours, minutes, and days to a higher time horizon of months, quarters, and years. If we're focused on the minutia, we have a really hard time focusing on what's going to happen in the next year or the next 3 years or the next 5 years. And how are we going to achieve a vision if our vision is hyper-focused on today? So we really want to elevate that vision. And now we can start having a plan towards how we're going to approach that vision. And we need to understand what our numbers are so that we can scale appropriately. What are we scaling? Who's the first person we need to hire or the next person we need to hire if we already have people? What's the next thing we need to do to increase our lead flow, get better at sales, increase the number of transactions per month that we have with our customers if they're recurring customers, right? We need to be able to figure out how to reduce our cost of goods sold, and you're right, manage expenses as well. And all those levers together can yield a tremendous result in net operating income if we just make some minor adjustments to each of those areas. And that's what the Simple P&L system covers, is exactly what those areas are and how the mathematics work in very simple terms. And you can use it as a reference to figure out, oh, this is what I need to achieve this result. Gary Keller wrote a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And he had a concept that he wrote in that book about what does it take to sell $1 million, make $1 million, and keep $1 million. And so I've extracted that lesson from his book and put it into worksheets in my book and in this workshop coming up to help business owners. $1 million is an arbitrary goal. It can be $50,000. It can be $10 million. Whatever your goal is, you put that number in, of course. But in order to understand what does it take to sell $1 million, because everybody has $1 million dream, right? I want to make $1 million. Well, do you want to sell $1 million or do you want to keep $1 million? Totally different scale of activities that are needed for both of those values. But if you don't know what it is, you have a really hard time getting there. So we need to come up with that vision. What does it take to achieve $1 million in sales, $1 million in gross, and $1 million in net, right? So we can decide what behaviors we need to model and systematize so that we can achieve those results without having to sacrifice our mind, body, and soul to our business, being the chief everything officer.
Well, that sounds very interesting. What is that website if someone wants to Either look at the book or sign up for a workshop?
It's just melbournebusinessadvisors.com.
Perfect.
And we're in Melbourne, Florida, so that's got the name Melbourne Business Advisors.
So tell me a little bit about you. How did you get to where you are at today? What was that journey like?
Well, the journey was like, it was probably mid-career in a technology industry. And my company said, if you'd like to go back to school, we'll help you get your MBA. We'd love to have more MBAs on staff. So we'll send you back to school if you want to go. I said, great, I'd love to go. And while I was there, had the opportunity to start volunteering as part of the program to give back to the community, find out ways that we can help small businesses or volunteer for nonprofits or do whatever to get more involved in understanding businesses in general and help specifically develop our skill and transfer that knowledge to others. So great, got opportunities all over the place to help anyone out. Got involved with We Venture and started volunteering as a volunteer business mentor and thought, this is amazing. There's so many people that have the same type of issue, really, and there's a simple answer to it. It's not necessarily simple for everybody, but for me, that was the thing that I said, I can provide value and I can help people with this particular part of their business. And that's really elevating their vision and creating a plan on how to achieve that. So that's what we do. And that's my mission now, is to help elevate everyone else's success. And by doing that, the rising tide lifts all boats. So everybody does better.
Now, this says it's a women's business center. So are you helping women? Are you helping anyone that needs help?
Well, it is for anyone that needs help, but the Women's Business Center is a women's business center. This is an SBA outreach center that specifically helps, it's targeted to help women business owners, but they don't discriminate, of course. Their predominant customer are women owners. And as we may notice, you may have seen, more and more women are striking out and starting their own businesses, and they are fantastic business owners. They're great leaders, and they're able to share a vision in a way that, a lot of the male counterparts may not be as open to.
So what are some of the main challenges you think overall you deal with on a daily basis or a weekly basis with the business owners? Would you say it's in the the management of the finances, understanding the financial reports, or are there other challenges?
There's certainly a lack. I think that there's certainly an opportunity to gain an appreciation for understanding the finances better. Everybody understands that, cash flow is not necessarily what's in your bank, right? So we need to understand that the balance in your bank account today does not match what you should be able to write a check against, because you may have outstanding debts, you may have outstanding receipts. But also those types of things are not well understood in some cases. But really, finance is a tool. The biggest part of what I do is help elevate perspective so that we're not looking at the daily operations. And part of the vision that I want to encourage my business owners, my clients, to have is, what does the end of their business look like? And when is that going to take place? Because if we have no specific vision and no specific end date, we're going to burn out, and the business will burn out, and the numbers are stacked against us. We know that 80% of all small businesses fail within 5 years. Most never make it past 10 years. But the question is, should it last more than 10 years? There's very small number of businesses that are over 10 years old. is a very small number, and they're extremely large companies now. They grew, right? They grew strategically, they grew organically, they kept buying additional companies, and including their competitors, their suppliers, other regions in order to gain footprint, right? They did all these things, and your small businesses should too. But at what end? When do you want to sell your business or transfer it to somebody else, or make it such that this is an asset that you could sell because you're no longer the business. You're no longer the key person. You're responsible for it. You're the beneficiary of it, but you don't have to be everything to that business, because you can't sell yourself in the end, right? You cannot sell yourself. You can't exit and expect your business to work if you have to stay with the business for an extended period of time.
So what one piece of advice, like one key takeaway, someone listening to this today could do to start thinking about that exit plan, right? When I mentor a lot of people, I say, you're talking about the business plan and starting the business. And a lot of people think it's not the right time to start talking about that exit plan, right? But you should have one the moment that you get into it. So is that the timing, or do you have different advice?
No, absolutely. I think that you should have an exit plan at the point that you enter into your business. Otherwise, you have a higher probability of failure. And by failure, I mean you're going to not make a profit at the end of your business. Over time, you're making some revenue, but if your business is dying for various reasons, you're not keeping up with technology, you're not keeping up with sales, you're not keeping up with your market, you're not doing what your market is demanding of you, then your business is going to wane and finally collapse. Your expenses will outpace your revenue, and at that point, we tend to give up. Our store has to get liquidated. Any assets that we have typically are sold off, usually at a loss, and we're stuck with a tax bill for anything left over. And this is a really bad situation to be in. So an exit plan is really important to us, to have a goal that we can work towards, and we need to set it immediately. Most investors, when they come to look at an investment, whether it's your business or any other business, are only looking at a time horizon that goes no more than 3 to 5 years. So if we look at our business as a potential place that we can exit within 3 to 5 years, that's a reasonable amount of time for us to grow it, train others to handle everything that needs to be handled, whether it's management, fulfillment, marketing, whatever, in such a way, and systematize all of those features that we can spend less time in the business and allow it to take place with our guidance, but not our daily involvement. And now we have an asset that we can sell, and we're going to sell it not at our annual sales, but at some multiple. And that multiple increases when we have professional management, when we are not part of the daily business, when we have customers that are recurring, that the cost to acquire is low and the lifetime value of each customer is high, right? Then we have something that other people are willing to invest in or buy, so that we have an exit plan. So if we wait 30 years to retire, you could be waiting a long time and missing out on a large amount of wealth, when in fact you could sell in 3 to 5 years, and all that time you're acquiring and building your asset base, you're building your revenue. Otherwise, you're going to be wandering aimlessly. If you don't have that plan and you're not taking action, you're wandering aimlessly. Your business is going to grow weaker and weaker. And if we're not improving every day, we are falling behind, because there are external economic forces that are constantly pounding on us and eroding our margins. Inflation, politics, regulation, legal stuff, science and technology, those things all play a role in working either against us, unless we're able to observe it by having a higher perspective, see what's coming down the road, by paying attention to the people that are in the positions that influence those factors, then we can start to grow that business, avoid the potholes, if you will, and be able to sell at a winning price that is going to give us the ability to either reinvest in something ourselves or take it and retire or do something or do whatever it is that you want to do with that money. But if you don't treat your business as a wealth building vehicle, then it's just going to be an unmaintained problematic job, and you're not working for anybody but yourself, which is fine. You know, a lot we all need some basic level of income to handle our lives, but without that vision of where we're going, how do we know if we're going to get there on time? How do we know if we're going to get anywhere? What are you measuring against that performance? You can't improve what you don't measure, as Drucker says, right? How do we know if we're getting anywhere, and without looking at the gauges on our business, just like the gauges on our car? If we don't have a plan, we don't know when we're going to get there, you know. But if we have a plan, then you can start playing games like Beat the GPS, right? How am I going to get to the grocery store faster, right? Is there a way to do it? You have a goal, and then we're incentivized. We gamify the process so that we start to look for ways to make decisions that provide better results, not just today, but every day.
So what would be the first step? Would it be first reading the book, taking a workshop, or at what stage should they reach out and call you if they would want help with this?
So you can do either way. I would love to have as many people join me on this workshop next Monday. But of course, that's not always possible. So reading the book is a great way to get started. It's 122 pages, I think. And it covers all the planning steps and understanding how to read your P&L, how to break down your margins so that you understand that for every product that you sell at a given price, how much you're earning, and compare that against what you expect to make out of it. Try to correct some things that we do wrong with pricing, because there's a simple calculation that most of us used when we create our prices. And then we realized that if we were to plug that price calculation into a P&L statement with just a single sale of our product and reverse engineer and find out what our profit margin is, it's nowhere near what we expected it to be. Oh, we've got a 20% markup on the cost of goods sold. That's going to be our margin. Sorry, that's only a 20% increase of your cost of goods sold, not that you're going to get a 20% return on that price, right? So we're going to have a miscommunication there, and that is eroding away at your income. And we want to fix that sort of thing. We want to fix and provide ways to increase your lead flow and your conversion rate, so you get better at sales, where it's not a job, but you're not trying to sell, you're not trying to be something that you're not, but you're simply sharing your passion and understanding the pain point that your customer feels better than they do, so that you can help them achieve a result that they need, that they want, that you can provide. And so we help all these stages of the way, and it's all explained in the book. We don't explain it all in the workshop, but set the goals in the workshop. So those are the ways to look at it, is that, you know, you can follow along in the book. And if you'd like some help, I'm happy to help, you know, providing accounting, financial analysis, CFO advisory services, whatever is needed in order to get you to that growth stage. So that's exactly what we do, is provide a bunch of different avenues. You know, follow along on your own if you want. Take your time if you wish. But I'm going to tell you that time is money. And if you keep dragging your feet, intentionally or otherwise, then you're leaving money on the table. Because there's things that you can do today to start becoming a more profitable business. You can start becoming more profitable in 30 minutes. just by reading the book and finding one or two or three things that you can do today to make sure that you keep more in your bank account than you did yesterday, and apply at each of those levels and start generating more revenue and more earnings without having to feel like you're killing yourself in the process. So one of those numbers that we look at is break-even point. How much of a break-even point must you be at? And are you achieving that goal? And how can we time compress that? So instead of, I need to sell 500 widgets a month, how can we time compress that to, how can you sell 500 widgets a week or a day, so that you get to your break-even point quicker in the month and everything else is generating revenue and profit. So that's the premise, right? Is how do we build a better business that becomes more effective and powerful and achieve our goals faster. But without a goal, we're just kind of wandering around, and I really don't want that for anybody. I want everybody to have a purpose, move with vision, share that vision, and by sharing that vision, this falls under leadership. And I want to talk about that for just a minute. I know this is one of the milestones that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
There are 4 aspects of leadership that I think every business owner needs to be aware of. And that's first, leading yourself, leading your team, leading your customers, and leading your market. And there's strategies that you can develop in each of those areas to become a better communicator, a better leader, and gain a better understanding of how all of those aspects affect your revenue, net profit, and valuation every day. So you know whether you're making an impact in a positive way or whether you need to change something. And we always need to change something. We just need to know what. So how do we get there? Read the book. We go to the workshop, together hand in hand, and we figure out exactly where your pain point is. What are you missing? What can we do to shore it up and make things better for you? And that's it. That's a very simple business model, simple process, but we actually investigate and we get to know your business really well. You get to better understand your business in a way that you may have never thought of in order to make better decisions.
Well, thank you for sharing
So
all
that's
that.
it. So that's it.
So
Yeah,
what
my
is
pleasure.
your next milestone?
Oh, my next milestone. This is a great question. My next milestone, I think, is for me to do my own hiring. And that's going to be coming up soon, or at least I have other people to help with providing the same services and in sales. So if anybody's interested in talking about those things, I'm interested as well to talk to you, because I need to grow. Just like I want my customers to grow, I want to grow my business as well, so that there's people that can help provide that economic leverage. And by hiring, we become an economic force in our community, right? 95% of all businesses, 99% of all businesses are small business. 95% of our entire workforce works for small businesses. It's a huge number. But when we start hiring ourselves, then we're adding to that economic power in our community, because that money tends to come to us from all over, but it tends to stay where we're at in the community.
I agree.
So
Well, I focus a lot on automation. And so
automation's
it's
great. Absolutely.
get some of these systems in place, right? Not to replace a human being, but I think, that combination, if you can outsource or hire, leverage the automation, what you end up getting in the long run is more time to focus on your genius zone, which is what is really going to bring in that revenue, right? And I think a lot of people make the mistake sometimes of saying, well, I don't have money to hire. I'm not ready to hire. some women are just too perfectionist and they think, if I try to get someone else to do this for me, it's not going to get done the way that I would do it, right? They have like that perfectionism, or maybe it's not even a financial. They just don't know how to delegate, or just don't feel the quality will be there.
Well,
But
there's systems that can be encouraged to help make that a possibility without worry. And part of it is documenting it the right way. And then when you hand over a set of policies, procedures, and work instructions, say this is what we're doing for this role. Here's the responsibilities. Here's how we do each one of these things down to the letter, right? So no matter who you put in that position, they should be able to take over and fairly quickly be able to find the section of that policy and procedure or work instruction and know exactly what to do. It might take them a little while to get as fast as you are, but it won't take them very long because you will have outlined every single step. This guarantees quality and reduces mistakes and increases efficiency over time. And very quickly, you have a business that is run by systems instead of specific knowledge that only one person has. And if they leave you, what happens to your business? You're at risk of any one person being the hero in your business of them leaving for any number of reasons that you can't control. They have that right. But if you don't have a system in place to quickly bring somebody up to speed, you're in danger of having a massive hit to your business that you don't want to take. So having systems, whether it's automation, whether it's documentation, whether it's delegation to professionals, right? You hire a bookkeeper, you hire an accountant, you hire an attorney. You're not doing those things. You need to free yourself up. Your social media marketing, maybe you're not doing it. Maybe you hired somebody else to do that. Let the professional handle that job so you can focus on your area of genius, as you said, and generate more growth. And you don't have
that
to hire
almost
somebody.
sounds,
You're not paying that salary. You're not paying that salary for the whole year. You're paying the salary for the next couple of weeks, right? So it's not as big of an investment, and you can see an impact almost immediately with every person that you hire. And of course, we want to look at those metrics too, right? When you look at revenue per employee or expenses per employee, you can measure the success of your business by looking at these metrics and know if you need to make a change. So those are interesting things to look at. And I put those on my scorecard, and I use that in this workshop and in the book. And you can find a lot of these resources available on Facebook or in the book. There's references to all of it. So you can find out how to collect these statistics and figure out if your business is going the right direction or not. So
well,
yes,
repeat your
automation,
website.
delegation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. My website is melbournebusinessadvisors.com. And all the links are there. So I look forward to everybody coming to take a look, get a copy of my book, welcome you to it. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk to anybody. I've got a scheduler link. So if you want to schedule 30 minutes to talk, I'm happy to talk to you and learn about your business and see if we can work together. And I want everybody to be successful. So like I said, a rising tide lifts all boats, and I want to help everybody out that I can.
Well, before we wrap it up, out of this entire conversation, what would be that one key advice you'd want to give our listeners?
Get some perspective. Get some perspective on your business, on your life. Figure out what your goal is and how you want to get there. Be specific, be intentional, and talk to somebody. You don't have to talk to me, but talk to somebody, because together, we, whoever that we is, are much better at perspective than just me or just you, right? When we have somebody to talk to, we're going to see things in a different way. We're going to get their perspective and it may not be what we think it is, and that's great. So get some perspective. And I would love to be able to talk to people and help them gain that perspective, get them off the keyboard, get them off the front desk, get them out of their comfort zone, and take a look at a bigger time horizon and how we're going to achieve those goals. So that's it.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Robert. It's been such a pleasure meeting you. And when I share that, I'll make sure that I also share all of these wonderful opportunities that can be found in your website. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheila. It was a pleasure being here with you too. Thank you so much for having me.